Everybody, and welcome back to the show. Okay, so
Everybody.
oh god, that looks terrible, Josh. It almost looks like, I don't know, the atoms were displaced, hypercharged by. Never mind. So they are what were we saying? So you guys hop into the wagon with the paddy wagon with this Perrin. Josh, there was something that you wanted to inquire with him about.
Oh, I would be picking his brain about the new things that are going on in Bard.
Sure.
I would be like, what has been going on? Any new lands that were conquered by Perrin? Is any new wars? I mean, we know Perrindel and them in war.
I don't know how dated your information is. Are you asking in relation to when?
Since the wall went up.
How old's that wall? It's like a decade, right? Yeah. I think that wall went up shortly after my third year of school.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot has happened. Let's see. Tons more of Vala was taken. The wall went up. Lots of Yovance has become. Oh, did you know there's a province that they I can't remember the name they used for a while, but about 20 years ago they named it Jovencia. So that the province of Jovencia officially changed. It was colloquially. I hate that word in real life. Colloquially called Jovencia for a long time, and officially changed over about 20 years ago. The war on the eastern side of the Barren Lands has really kicked up. Apparently, there's a big battle between some of the Daelish fighting back over in the Delagus, fighting back against the war happening there. Kajinksi is being a bit. There's so much to go over. I don't.
Please tell me everything.
10 years of 10 years of time, and I spent a lot of that time drinking and studying.
Laszlo would look at him deadpan and go, "Yes, as much as you're willing to tell me, I would love to hear it."
I mean, I only left Paradel a couple months ago. I can say this. When I left Bard, there was a new song that was getting a little popular about some... what was her name? Lena... Song about Queen Rena. There's a song about a Queen Rena that was kind of like flaring up in popularity. I honestly, it kind of stuck in your head for a while, but I left, so I didn't really, I don't remember the lyrics. Yeah, I don't know.
Ambitious. It's an ambitious title.
Yeah, something about I don't remember what it is. Either way, so there's a lot to go over.
I mean, Laszlo's boring. He
just
wants to
shies away
it.
from the conversation. So unless there's anything of like great importance yes, shout out Doxy. That's totally what that is, and totally not a bad thing. Did you know that her character in game name is Rena?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So anyways, you what was I saying to you? I'm so sorry. Oh, is there anything specific you want to ask of this guy? Or do you guys just?
He's just. Well, my guy is just going to try to pull as much information, but he's not fun. He's like more of an academician sort. So he's like, so around this time period, what happened between these two? The guy's probably not going to want to talk to Laszlo, to be honest.
But Chrisellen would assist you in making it fun and interesting. She would relay, find a way to relate the information back to our bard friend to make it so that he's talking about himself a little bit, so that it feels more fun to him and more social to him.
Yeah. I mean, so do you guys have a good time with Patron? I don't know if there was anything specific you're hoping to get out of him or from him, but he's just like a really good friend, and certainly somebody that were you trying to get him to travel with you to the south, or you guys just have a fun evening with him?
I just wanted to get him safely out of there.
I
know, and I knew, like, Doxy knew. Chrisellen would not have known that guy wasn't going to try anything if he was still being shitty. She spends her time around drunk people. Mm-hmm. She would have insisted that we escort him out of there safely.
Yeah, no, and he's good. And again, I imagine you don't offer for him to spend the night in the small wagon carriage with you, okay? So he will take up the offer for a free night. Absolutely. She's like, free? I'm a diamond. No,
it would be free. It would be fine.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys have a couple of my apologies. You guys just have some fun, chat.
She won't be bathing him in the morning, but
no, I imagine not even much intimacy going on with these two voyeurs with you. So
I would ask him where he's traveled recently, since we're heading south. Maybe he might have gone down there or is coming from that area. That might give us some insight.
Yep, and he actually does say, well, you can't really come here from Paradel through Yovance. It's not exactly a friendly place for somebody like me if you want to keep the iron off your wrists. So instead, you go through Goldaria.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
Can we have the map back, Scott?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We can actually switch over to that. And this will be... Do you want the world map?
Just so that I can look and understand what's being said.
Okay, well, so the world map won't give you all of it. More or less, you're looking at colors here. So let's drop you over to the world map. Here we go. So with this one here, you can see obviously where Malta is, right? Mm-hmm. And Yovance, he's saying more or less you go Paradel orange. You would travel from Paradel to Malta, not through the ice wall, which is where the two of them actually meet.
But through up north through Goldaria.
Yeah, because Goldaria would be the safe region. Exactly. So that's where he most likely would have traveled through.
And he has no interest in going south to Yovance.
So you can actually straight up ask him that.
Where are you headed?
Honestly, I was trying to make my way through Malta and see if I can gain enough fame here that I'm invited into Ascaria. I mean, sure, I could technically travel there, but nobody in Ascaria is going to have me singing in their taverns unless I have a reputation. And it's pretty big ask for your reputation to travel all the way from Bard to there without, interruptions. So
I'll send word to the academy.
See
if there's any kind of strings that I can pull for you.
He's kind of like, because he obviously kind of gets it. Oh, yes, please. That would be amazing. Thank you.
I heard you play. You were amazing.
Thank you. And it's one of those things where, again, the evening kind of goes on pretty well, and he's genuinely appreciative. And I imagine, of course, you follow through and send.
For sure. And she would be like, make sure you learn this song. Make sure you learn who these people are. This is an event that you're going to want to attend, blah, blah, blah.
I actually imagine the night, even, especially as Laszlo tries to ask a couple more like awkward questions, he very much leans into, actually remind me the melody of that one. Leans over that way. Just to button this off, Oscar, what are you doing this entire evening that they're hanging out with this bard?
Would it be inappropriate for me to say that I'm shining my spear?
Depends on what you define spear as in this situation.
No, I mean, I think so. So when Patron stops talking to Laszlo so much, Oscar would actually kind of sit down next to Laszlo. I mean, we're in the carriage, but he'd kind of like switch seats probably.
I imagine my carriage. Sorry to interrupt, but I imagine my carriage has like two benches that sort of fold out into a big bed.
Right.
Throughout the whole thing, right?
I mean, it's not a full transformer, but it absolutely has, versatility and so on. Yeah.
Sure.
So
I imagine it is 4 cushions that can be laid across to turn the inside.
We've all been in a camper before, right? Everybody here's been in a camper.
Yeah.
So to a degree of versatility, yeah.
So the idea here was basically that when we got in the carriage, I would have sat across from Laszlo because that's my job, and I don't think Chrisellen would have stopped me from doing so. But I would have actually motioned for Patron to switch seats with me as he kind of started talking to Chrisellen more. And I would sit next to Laszlo and just say, the last time I saw someone do that to a weapon, I got a nasty scar.
Oh, I just strengthened it.
Yes. Yeah. I don't mean that it was my weapon. I mean it was my enemy's weapon that was strengthened.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Hence the nasty scar.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not a great communicator.
Scene.
Yeah, I just, I mean, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at making things stronger. I could do your armor as well.
How long does this last?
Not long. A fight. I'm still working on permanence. I'm still new to a Maltese magic.
Yes. Well, I'm sure it's nothing like what you've learned before.
No. Very different. Less structured. More free-flowing.
So, how are you taking to a Maltese magic? Do you find the restrictions placed by the council, the Congress, are causing you as many limitations as it is for the rest of our mages?
Trust me when I say this, those limits are there for a reason. But I believe Maltese magic is different. I don't know how yet. That's why I want to study it. It doesn't react the same way. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't look the same.
No, it doesn't. I've had the good fortune of seeing both types up close.
Yeah.
Seems you have as well.
Probably from the different vantage point.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Let me tell you, there are many times where I wish that I had the other vantage point.
Yeah. It's not always fair.
Yes, well. I'm sure they thought that as well when they found out that I was still standing.
I mean, I would be scared shitless if I saw that. I mean...
He pats you on the shoulder and just leans back in the chair and says, well, you hopefully won't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. By the way, yes, I did take his coin.
Yeah, I thought you might have.
Yeah. I saw you notice. I thought maybe if he didn't have money, he would leave and he would find it outside. But
he can't leave until he pays his bill. That's why I didn't push him towards the door. That's why I pushed him towards his chair.
Sorry. I just figured his friends would have covered for him. I was trying to help. I shouldn't have. Crisellin's way better at dealing with situations like that.
I will say, I did not see you take it. It's very impressive.
Yeah. I try not to be seen. A lot.
Well.
Grisellen wouldn't have even heard mention of her name if you guys were to look back across the carriage. You would see like the bard's arms around her and her arms on her hands on his lute, and he's like, they're like playing it together. She's just like, teach me and I'll show you, and yes, make sure that you speak to such and such at such and such academy. And she's like flirting to learn the lute.
Is he playing Wonderwall?
Absolutely not even a little bit fazed by this. He's seen this type of behavior before. Yeah, no, he's just gonna keep talking with Laszlo, and he will be very nice with you, Laszlo, like to the point where it's probably a little uncomfortable how actually kind he's being in general.
Oh, he's completely uncomfortable.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not gonna be rude or anything, but it'll just be like very short, probably. Well, yeah. He'd just be awkwardly short. He's not a big talker either. At least not anymore.
So, I hope I'm not being indelicate. But why leave?
He just kind of stares off. It's gonna be probably a good
Oscar
like
is
minute.
a patient man.
It'd be like a good minute before he answers, and just go, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Any regrets about leaving? Not your past?
My family. I miss them.
Tell me about them. Never had one.
Oh, gnomes, families.
I just left home at a young age. It's nothing. Don't be awkward with it.
I have 6 siblings.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Active parents, huh?
No, it's a small family.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, what would my sister be now? 240. So, I mean, they probably have kids of their own now. I miss that. Yeah. I don't really want to talk about them, actually.
No, that is fair enough. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to, as I say, didn't mean to be indelicate, but,
That's a nice song, Chris Ellen.
She just keeps singing and clumsily playing it and looks at you and smiles and keeps singing while she's like making eye contact with you and smiling.
I'm just going to try to avoid talking to Oscar. I'm just going to try my hardest to avoid talking.
Do you know this one? And she like senses that you're uncomfortable and tries to press you to sing with her.
No. Yes, maybe. Yes, I know that. I know that one.
Is he flirting?
He flirts, yeah. Stunned silence. You are so impressive that you leave those who witness your display completely dumbfounded and unable to speak for at least a full round.
To be fair,
I wrestle myself from Patron's arms and sit on Laszlo's lap.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I don't.
To be fair, I think I'd probably sway the crowd. He would just start. He would actually start singing, or maybe like, what is it called when you just take a vocal, just kind of oratory, vocalizing like an old epic, or something that he would have known from the region of Paradel. Yeah, I know a few things. I like to read.
I think that we can put a stamp on this night at this point. Really.
Yeah. Let it die.
Yeah, no,
don't want to have more conversation with Oscar?
I was letting you guys have a conversation, and then he's just kind of like, okay, and then and then it even kind of dies down as time goes, and I imagine it's not awkward ending at all, and everybody has a good time, and eventually you guys pass out. He does spend the night there, and the bard sleeps in late. Of course, right? So he sleeps in very late. He is, not accustomed to having to get up early or live by any form of a schedule. So eventually you guys have to go, hey, buddy, so you leaving soon? Yeah. What time do you guys usually, get started? We are gone hours ago. So get out of here coming. And so he will leave, part with you guys, big hug, so on and so forth. I'm truly appreciative and says, hey, obviously, if I find my way into Ascaria, if you guys are head back that way, look me up. I would appreciate it. And just kind of like that friendly goodbye. And then from there, you guys eventually leave him, right?
I imagine I would have written down a lot of things for him about like what to remember, who to go see, and all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, you make everything transition smoothly. Completely get, of course.
Somebody already wrote them down. Okay, great.
Yep, it's funny. I actually went to go write it in there, and I was like, "Oh, it's there."
I'm on top of it. Don't worry about it. I don't talk much in role playing, so I get to make notes. It's good.
So you guys leaving there, from there to Brintel, honestly, do you guys pick up the pace at all, and just like, okay, let's focus on the next big town, or do you guys literally continue to stop by every small tavern along the way?
I would leave it up to them. Normally I would insist that we stop, but we did lose a lot of time with a guest and a sleepover. We lost a whole morning. So if I would posit to them that it would be wise for us to follow the Queen's commands. but I would also understand if they wanted to break from the social and if they wanted to just keep our heads down, keep moving.
Specifically, the Queen's commands for you to travel along and meet the people and to find out what their opinions are and so on and so forth. And that is certainly what you just got a taste of here in this town. Take it as you will, but you definitely got a taste of what the people can be like in Malta. And mind you, you're not at the border. That was central Malta. That was the most safe part of Malta. Anyways, so
every second town, maybe.
What was that? Every second town? So you just kind of like dwindle it down. All right, awesome. So as I had said, so chat, just so you know, we did update the map. So it actually counts miles as we're using our little ruler here, which is kind of cool.
So proud of that.
Well, listen, I'm happy that it went to scale with my map. So so I made it so it counts miles. So 40.5 miles, I think would take you guys. I think if you just went straight there, about 3 days to go. But it's probably going to go much longer than that. Instead of 3 days, it's probably going to become about 5 days because you're spending a lot of time talking and speaking to people, allowing time to pass just to get to Brent Hill. Brent Hill, we don't have to have a big RP thing there. One of the things I do want to point out that happens to be here, Brent Hill is actually the location where, so my apologies, Heplon is the capital. So if you're looking at what comes out of Ascaria, usually you would imagine when trade routes were high, they would travel, things would get brought straight to Heplon from Ascaria, so on and so forth. One of the things that you notice about Brent Hill is that this town is rather busy, considering how little business you imagine trade route and whatnot would be bringing here. Jovensis is to the south. Jovencia, Jovance. Jovance is to the south of where you are, southeast. And sure, there's going to be some trade between the two nations, but for the most part, it's just you bringing military aid to them because it's keeping you people alive. You know what I mean? There's not too much trade. There's almost no trade coming from Ascaria, right? But despite that fact, again, Brent Hill seems to be rather bustling. There's a lot of cargo ships that always seem to be unloading and loading and unloading and loading and so on and so forth, which might cause you to raise an eyebrow. People here are, I guess, more upbeat than everywhere else you've traveled in Malta so far. But again, you pretty quickly get the impression, not upbeat necessarily because things are awesome, upbeat because you're busy. And you just don't really have time to be all dour when you're constantly this busy. Taverns here are certainly full. There's a lot of people, but not people that are really looking to relax and have a good time. More people that are looking to just relax and mellow out. Like we've all been there before. After a day of work, you like to have fun with your friends. Maybe grab a beer or three, whatever it might be. After a hard day of work, you just want a beer and to be left alone for a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the impression that you're getting from the people here. Inns are pretty full. But you know, you can find space here or you stay in your wagon. I love the fact that you guys treat this like a mobile home. Like mobile home, well, you didn't affix it to the lands permanently, so you don't have to pay taxes.
Well, this is it, right? This town is when we turn it in, I believe.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you also notice that because there's so many travelers coming through here, that there's a decent number of stables that happen to be here. We can get to what you find in those stables shortly, but there are a decent number of stables that happen to be here and so on. The shops, again, unlike the rest of even central Malta, have a lot of wares in them. A lot of stuff that you can buy. You quickly get the impression, though, even just some light shopping that first day when you arrive there. Oh, hold on, I have to go check out this dress. Prices are a bit higher than even in central Malta, which you can imagine prices are high because stock is low, right? Demand, supply, so on and so forth. There's a decent amount of supply here, but the prices are also high here. Whatever. That's kind of your snapshot view after like 2-3 hours of traveling through this city. Because this is in fact a city, a good like say 13,000 people or so probably live here. As you're finding a place to settle your wagon, as you're finding a place to. Oh my god, that scared the crap out of me. It is so loud.
Oh.
I gotta find a way to turn off that sound. Maybe I'll do it during the next break. Oh my God.
I'll walk you through it.
Oh my God. That I like having the volume. I've always liked it, but the fact that I can't turn it down for some reason for just this
you can. You're not listening. You have to go into it.
No, I know.
I'll walk
but you're
you through
saying
it next
in
break.
in Streamlabs. Like go to streamlabs.com /
Yes.
No. You don't
Yes.
have to do that. You can just pull up the Streamlabs. You don't have to go to the any.com or anything.
Wait, what do you mean? I'm in.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
over
talk
break.
it on break.
I was
We'll
like,
talk
what?
on break.
This
Yeah,
is
it
yeah.
It doesn't matter. So I don't know why it's happening, but that's fine. So you find a place for you to settle in your. I don't mean a place for you to park it for like weeks. I mean a place for you to like settle down and just kind of park for a little while. Get out, really stretch your legs, take in the scene, and then take over. What do you guys do now that you've kind of like taken this in and come to these realizations? Maybe even chattering it amongst yourselves.
I'd like to find a book on Yovance. Maybe some more lore or history about them. Maybe it's something that can give us an edge. That's kind of where my specialties lie. And maybe I'd be able to be of some aid to you, Griselin, with more knowledge.
I have no objection to helping you find a book.
Actually, you know he was talking to you?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Will you say that again? I was looking at stunt stuff. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're fine. He was talking to you. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just Laszlo just says I'd like to look for some documents, lore, a book, something about Yovance to maybe aid in our mission there. Maybe to be of some use to you.
To a library, then. We should.
A library or a bookstore? I mean, I don't know how long we plan on being here.
Probably a bookstore at this point.
A librarian would tell us which book to buy, at the very least.
Fair.
I trust public servants more than I trust merchants, unfortunately.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay, yeah. I would never thought of that.
Perfect.
And Priscilla would.
Wagon.
Yeah, as she stepped out of the carriage, she would, like, just the very first person she saw, curtsy and say, "Is there a library in town?"
Well, there's a couple of bookshops that you can find here, around here, absolutely. As for a library, yes and no. There is a library that is open to not everybody, but there's a noble in town that happens to keep a pretty vast collection of books that I know others tend to borrow from. Perhaps you'd like to speak to him.
Fantastic. Any pointers on how to make that happen?
Kind of, he goes to say something and then realizes, like, I don't think I know. And then he kind of like takes you in and goes, well, honestly, you seem like the kind of person that would go there. It's kind of like gesturing at you awkwardly.
Oscar's gonna like kind of crunch his way out of the carriage at this point.
Minotaur. and so as soon as they do this, so it's one of those things where they give you a salute that clearly shows they're many years out of practice and says, it's an honor, sir.
It's thank you. I should have taken the pauldrons off.
And which way? To the noble, then?
Oh, they actually, please, it's going to be right around and kind of like gives you a bit of a direction and gives you the name, of course. So
I would drop a gold coin in his hand, by the way.
Yep.
Jeez.
You're rich.
Y'all rich. Y'all rich.
I don't have that much money. I spent mine on rations like a fool.
Like a fool.
The noble name is Arcium.
I'm writing this down, by the way.
Yep.
Thank you.
Arcium. The noble name is Arcium. You guys can roll me a history check, or if you know it, a magical lore check. So it's either history or arcane lore, whichever you prefer.
Ooh, I will do an arcane lore.
And so noble name. Sorry, the
How about
family
a
name
flat
is Arcium.
intelligence?
That's fine.
That's 6 stunt points on a
Fuck,
16
I am
roll.
rolling kind of garbo tonight.
Oscar, what do you like to do with your 6 stunt points? It's exploratory, technically.
This is exploratory, yeah. So give me one moment here.
Of course. So while he's trying to figure out exactly what he wants to know, Josh, sorry. Josh, you would actually know, as well as you, Doxy, there is a city not too far from the capital city of Heplon by the name of Arcium. You would also know that city was named after one of the noble families, as many of the big important cities. Not many of them. There's a few of the big important cities were. So this is in estates to, I guess, that family. But more detail, sir.
So just because it's funny, I'm gonna have Oscar just say exactly what you describe, because he's doing it with a flourish, like the immediate, oh, this is that information. And then also doing speedy search. So it's done faster than anyone else can come up with any of their information.
Oh, so before you even put the connection together, you straight up say that, and they're like, oh, I knew that. Like, duh. You know what I mean? So nice. I appreciate that. So it actually kind of like catches them off guard for a second. So which again, not entirely, because it makes sense that your rank. And most importantly, what you know with your incredible success there, sir, with your 16 and everything. Arsium is the family that actually early on, when Malta first was carved, it was one of the primary high noble families. It was one of the ones that actually helped to sculpt magics in the different way. But again, at the inception of Malta, right before even left Galdaria. This is one of the families that carved new castings, different ways of doing things than what the Arcane Congress wanted. So this is an important family. So the books that they have there are probably arcane in nature, as well as historical.
Is the town named for the family or the family named for the town?
Town named for the family.
Okay.
But you're not in that town, of course.
Right.
So that's what you know. And so it's one of those things where, the family name is Arsium. So he says it right out loud, and the two of you are like, oh yeah. Oh shit. You know what I mean? Doxy, as for with your role there, since he made that plain statement, where are you? 12. You know a couple of the names, but you don't know if you've had much more than touch and go interactions with them in the past. Like, I probably have spoken to them at events, but I've never serviced anybody.
And okay, great. And she would turn to the commoner and she would say, and your name, sir?
Phil.
Phil, thank you for the assistance. And she presses the coin into his hand.
Short for Philip?
Short for fill me up with coins.
Yeah.
She would chuckle at that. She would like that very much.
Cool. In the old days, when my PCs love asking names, I would just cycle through Mo, Larry, Curly. Mo, Larry, Curly. Like, wow, that's a common...
No love for Shep?
No love for Shep.
Who's Shep?
The fourth stooge.
Yeah, but they're called the Three Stooges for a reason.
Right. Okay. You know what? We're going to not talk about this. We're going to go. We're going to make our way to the RCM house.
We're moving on and
So
going.
if we see three people, we got to be like, hello.
Oh, no. There used to be like when my parents booted up the computer in the 90s. That's what the computer window is opening up, Dan.
Oh, good.
Oh, it's awful.
Very
So,
nice.
moving on. The you guys are going to, I guess, make your way to the house of the RCM family. It's pretty easy to find there. It's honestly one of those things, once you said the name, it's like, I'm pretty sure I know which house it is. And so you can easily find yourself to the very wealthy district of Brintel and easily find your way to the estate of Arcium. If any of the high noble members are there, it's a hard maybe, but there will always be servants on staff. Go ahead, Doxy.
Would it be possible for me to have taken some of the whiskey from the rations and put it in like a bottle of sorts to bring as a gift?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you probably wouldn't have thought of that walking out of the wagon, but you're standing there and they just said this shit, so you grab some. Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. I would do that.
Mm-hmm. And it is the good stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the good soldier's whiskey, so it's still like it's not like the noble person's stuff though, right? It's the good stuff.
But still, it's etiquette to bring a gift
Yeah.
when you go to see a noble. Like, no matter the occasion, you bring
For
a
sure.
gift.
Depending on
especially if you're
mead
asking a
or-
favor, which we
The
are.
cask of mead is nicer because I got the stuff that I like that's better.
Yeah, but mead won't get a group
No.
of people drunk, and whiskey will.
Correct. Yep. No.
Are we seriously just gonna walk up to this guy's house? I mean, Laszlo would seriously ask that. Like,
Yes.
we're just gonna go.
Yes,
okay.
we are.
Absolutely.
This is probably going to be fine. Oscar says with a shrug as he just walks behind Chrisellen.
Chrisellen will turn back with just her head while she's still walking forward and say, "This will be fine."
Do you?
And then she'll shake the whiskey bottle.
I am wearing my full Venator garb.
I was gonna say, do you remove
Yeah.
the pauldrons or add the cloak?
No, add the cloak. This
Nope.
is a I have to dress up, not a dress down.
Yep. Okay, so you guys make your way over to the house. Now, again, this estate is grand. It is big, beautiful, gorgeous. It's one of those things where even the stone that they use to carve out this, it looks like the entire house was carved from one massive block of stone, just smoothly carved and shaped. Like all of the columns that sit there supporting all the stone, like everything. Like this was just one massive slab that was carved out, and you can only imagine that it must have been magic that did this. The other homes nearby, the other like estates that you see as you walk past, or you can see they're kind of beyond. They're beautiful as well. Let's not just like shit on how good they are. They're beautiful as well. But this one particularly looks like it is just amazing. There's no way that man could have carved this. It has to have been done with magical might. When you approach the estate, it's one of those things where you don't need to worry about whether or not there's a gate or anything like that leading up the steps, which again are all carved of stone. As you step through the area, immediately, Josh, make me a perception check. Perception check.
The special one or just the regular one?
Special one.
So 15.
Okay. So you actually, as you're walking up the gates themselves, you can literally see as you're walking through the gates. It's one of those things where things seem a little bit woozy for a second. You can actually colors for you are very dull, very very dull.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where the sharpness of the color here contrasts with the kind of color that you can see. And so you all of a sudden notice that there is more here than you originally thought there was. As you approach up, you see that. No, this isn't just an open patio, like there's nothing here. You actually see that there are literally gargoyles perched here and there. I mean, beforehand you thought that they were just statues, maybe? No, actually it looked like the statues were every other. They are every other. But filling the opposing spaces are gargoyles. And they're moving a bit, because it doesn't matter. Nobody can see them. They're invisible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they? Not to you.
I won't say anything with where we are right now. As we're walking up to this person's house.
Yep.
Does he seem like sketchy right now?
I probably would pause because it's a change of vision, right? It's a slight difference than normal. I would pause and then kind of stare at a spot a little bit more than normal, than hurriedly try to catch up.
You all right there, Laszlo?
Yes. We're being watched.
Always.
Constantly.
Yeah. A little bit intimately right now.
Oh, out with it, Laszlo.
Okay. I'll stop and I'll point at a gargoyle and say, "There's a gargoyle right there."
You guys
watching
see
us.
a blank spot between one of those clear gargoyle perch spots, between where two of them that you can see. There's one that's, again, empty.
Careful, Oscar. I hear that they eat Venator.
Isn't that how all the stories go? Magical beast eats the Venator, then the people die slowly in the village afterwards. One by one, picked off until they're all gone.
Well, that's grim.
Yeah, we are we like horror stories here, apparently. But I'm assuming that you can see things we can't then, Laszlo. And
Sometimes.
Fair enough. Keep us appraised.
Of course.
For what it's worth, every Venator I've ever eaten has returned to work happy.
Okay, so you guys walk up to the front door.
Oscar is red for a moment and then composes himself and then keeps
I laugh.
Breaks the mood.
Gnome laugh, just loud. Like it's not even intentional. It just happens, and I can't stop it. And then I get the giggles a little bit afterwards. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oscar genuinely blushes a little bit at it. Genuinely, like he's fairly.
She probably didn't even look at you. She probably
No.
was just like still walking forward.
Yeah. He's
the back of the head.
To you,
Like-
Laszlo, he's very composed right now. His posture hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. You're walking behind him right now. You don't see shit, but his face is red.
So
Maybe the back of his neck.
Covered by a cloak presently.
I would be
Put
able
the
to see it
cloak back
anyways.
on.
It's actually
True.
It's actually a collar. So unfortunately, because I've never heard what Laszlo's laugh sounds like, all I can hear it as like a.
No.
So-
No, it's
Gnome laughs are
he's a
like
gnome.
Rich,
He's a gnome,
low
right?
belly laughs,
God,
right?
Describe it. It's a gnome.
No.
Does not
Give it a
describe
go.
laugh.
Give it a go. Give us a laugh.
It would be something. It would be like you know.
That is
something
evil.
Like a
That is an
maniacal
evil
Jafar laugh. Like
I mean, it fits.
I
It
imagine
fits.
Gimli laughing when I imagine Laszlo laughing.
Oh, I haven't watched LTR in so long. What does Gimli laughing sound like? I know
It
the
is
actor
so
sounds like
easily Googleable.
well, not at the moment, right? But
Mhm.
because I know what the actor sounds like in say Indiana Jones, but you know because he's better in Indiana Jones.
I don't know. To me, I would hear it's very loud and vocal and hearty, right? Like it would probably make other people smirk even if they don't know what the joke is, kind of thing. When they laugh genuinely and not like trying to be all cute.
I just need to hear something out loud so I can perfectly picture what I'm thinking is in my head. Ha 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 ha.
No, it's oh god.
Like no, that kind of works. Like the idea of like a melodic laugh. It's so freaky. It's so freaky.
That's when he passed through the illusionary wall.
No, the idea of a melodic laugh to Baby Shark sounds frightening as hell. Anyways, so as you walk up to the door, it's literally you guys are approaching the door. As you step, the first one of you, which is probably Chris Ellen, steps onto the landing that leads to the front door. Still get 10 feet there. The door opens before you. Not like a ghost, but the door opens and a servant is standing there and is awaiting, like butler-esque, standing there patiently, not directly in front of the door, but somewhat to the side, welcoming you in.
Chris Ellen will she'll grab her skirt and perform a full formal curtsy, and she'll place the bottle of whiskey in the servant's hands and say, "For the Arsium family."
The servant's hands are of course gloved, and they do take the bottle, and it's one of those things where it's somewhat stoic, again very butler-esque stoic face, just kind of like a gentle head nod, and they take the bottle and hold it as each of you walk into the atrium. Once you're all inside there, they shut the door behind you, and this is when they actually turn to speak to you, because they're not going to have a conversation with you on the porch.
Right.
So once you're inside that, now again, as soon as you walk into this place, it is beautiful. Again, like it almost feels like you're back in the palace with how well designed, with how beautiful this place really is. Again, the artwork that's there. The artwork that's there is sometimes moving. Like some of the art actually has like a bit of a motion to it. It's not all of it, of course, that'd be ridiculous, but you can see some of the scenes almost like you thought you saw a breeze blow across the grass in an otherwise still beautiful scene of a meadow, and things like that, right? Either way.
Been so long since I've been to Hogwarts.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's like
The paintings are
cinemagraphs,
arguing.
kind of.
Yeah, to a small degree, yes.
Okay, I love it.
And so anyways, the servant then turns towards you and says, welcome to the ACM family estates. Please, to what do I owe the pleasure?
Well, first, the pleasure is all ours. It's not so often that we get to grace a place as beautiful as this. You working folks do a phenomenal job.
He nods thankfully and allows you to continue.
We were hoping to inquire about literature. Informative literature. We hear there's a library here, and we were hoping with a little sorry. we were
So
hoping
sorry.
that we could have an audience with the Sir Arsium?
Yep.
The lady
Yeah. So Lord or Lady or whatever it might be. Yeah. Or, Lord or Lady would work or whatever. So, anyways, he says, unfortunately, all of the family happens to be out of the estate as of now. They don't come this way very often. However,
did we see them at the throne room? Because both me and Chrisellen rolled
you
really well.
You definitely would have seen the RCM family there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, he says, unfortunately, none, and there's more than just, of course, husband and wife. There's also the children and so on. Since none of the RCM family happens to be at this estate, they don't spend too terribly much time in Brintel, as of late. However, I would never say no to a flawless diamonds. I would never disrespect the estates as that. Any information that would come your way or to the way of a master venator, I would be more than happy to provide. And he turns to Laszlo and says, and I assume that he is accompanying you.
Aye, a companion.
He nods, and he nods and says, "And please follow me this way." And
you have my gratitude, Mr.
NPC.
Curly.
No, yeah. Chopin. What's the fourth one's name?
Shep.
Yeah, Chopin. So he as he's leading you guys through the atrium, through the hallways, whatnot. Eventually, another servant passes by. You see another one cleaning over here, and actually, one of them will walk up to him and he hands him the bottle. They don't really say anything, just take care of it, and then they walk off with it. And eventually, they lead you into a library that is quite vast and beautiful, and you can see that there are many, many books inside here. The place is spotless. I mean, like truly spotless. Josh, arcane lore check.
Oh, okay.
I would also, Mr. Shep, is there a catalog?
He says of sorts. 1 second. Josh, with your arcane lore check, you can literally smell the magic inside of here. It's just the unique way that magics happen to work inside of Malta, right? This place is not kept clean by the work of a servant. This place is kept clean by the work of servants that are always here, that are always working, and they're never, and that are always tireless. You can also imagine that because this is kind of like arranged in such a way that it keeps itself clean, that the magic of this room probably allows it to just be understood or would aid you in whatever your search is for. And so he does turn to you and say, the Arsium estate. Sorry, the RCM Estate Library is at your disposal. It's funny because as he says those words, once again, you can almost feel a shift in the magic, as almost like you think he just said an incantation or a trigger.
Oh, I love it so much. I'm sorry. I have a huge nerd boner right now.
As you all of a sudden the magics here kind of switch to not be under your control, but to welcome you to use them. And so,
okay.
And so as you go walking into the room, you feel comfortable there. As a matter of fact, the temperature of the room changes to be much like how it is you guys enjoy keeping the inside of the wagon as you're going through.
Yeah.
The carriage, thank you. As you're traveling and so on. Even the aroma of the room changes ever so slightly. Nothing extreme, just slight subtle changes. And they, slowly shut the door behind you, informing you if you need anything to just knock and somebody will come to assist you and leave you alone inside the chamber.
Are we gonna just walk here? She's teasing you.
No, I was gonna read.
Oscar's gonna go sit. I'm assuming there's like tables in here as well. Yeah, Oscar's just gonna go sit down at a table.
Or someone's gonna find smutty books and sit and read.
Okay, I did say this place would provide for you if it was there what they have. As for whether or not there's smutty books, I think we should roll
there
for
it is.
it. No. Roll for smut. I think
I will roll for smut. Is it a dexterity writing check or?
No. I think a D100 is standard D100, right? Standard.
Okay.
Why don't we don't actually need the map open anymore. We can actually switch over to the chat. What do you think is an appropriate? Oh, okay, already rolled.
I'm sorry. I got a 97 though.
Oh, Jesus. You find smut. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where there is...
Exactly my fetish, too. Yes.
Yes.
So it was above 69.
Yo!
Let's be real. That is what you roll for smut. I needed to stay silent, but
Good shout, Will.
I couldn't any longer.
Yeah.
So roll for smut. You find smut there. That's a beautiful roll of 97. And
it's like a tome. A tome. Oh, all right.
It's like the Kama Sutra, but
I was
now it's Harry
just gonna
Potter
make
style.
a joke about the Kama Sutra.
Anyways, so you find this stuff, and honestly, you can imagine this isn't just like regular smut, right? This is actually a training manual for somebody who happens to be of your people.
Oh,
But
boring. Don't need.
No. But one of the ones that are now forbidden.
Now you're speaking my language. She would find the most luxurious chair in the library, curl up in it, and read.
A chase. Just like everyone's like, that looks uncomfortable, but she makes it look comfortable. Like how?
As you guys are finding the various books that you want to read, which we'll continue this in a moment, is another one of those things where the air in this room is just humid enough. You never have to lick your fingers to turn a page, right? It's just comfortable.
Why would you?
Because you're reading to your child book after book after book. And you wash your hands a lot, so your fingers are always dry. You
don't have dry hands. You use lotion.
If
you live in Florida. Shut up, you.
if it's a really dry environment, books can, after a long time of being in a single place, they can be dry and it can be hard to turn pages.
Listen, okay, I live in New England. It's winter.
I mean, I'm just saying that's how you get corona. I mean, you start licking book pages and stuff.
I lick a page and I get a bad beer. That's not bad. That's not bad. Oh. Anyways, so what particular books that you might be looking for there, Laszlo? You said specifically.
I would actually ask Chrisellen what would be the most use, like coat of arms, family histories, cultural lore, the area. What she thinks would be able to give me insight to help you.
Oh, Laszlo, you're the one that asked for books.
I just didn't know what you would use.
All of those things would be appropriate, Laszlo.
Whichever most interests you.
Okay, so I'm gonna look for all those things. I'm gonna look for historical...
3 months later. No.
Yeah. I'm gonna look for historical, like a history of the region, so that if we ever come into conversations about that, and then maybe cultural, if there's time.
I'm going to try and help Laszlo find these things. I'm literally just going to get him to point me where he thinks they would go, and I will just grab books and come back to him and say, these. And if they're not right, I will walk back. I'm going to work as a lackey for a few minutes here.
So the fun part is when you want to know where a book is, it's almost like you kind of already know where it is. Not that you I know the exact spot, it actually flies over to me. Nothing so overt like that, right? But it's like, oh, okay, I want to know where, say, the historical region is. And you just kind of I feel like it's over there. And then you go over there, it's like, oh, this is the history of books. Where's Jovance? There. And it's you don't even have to A, B, C, walk along. You just
my God, no, you told me this.
Magic.
You told me this.
Yeah.
You told me this, and you told me I noticed this. So then what I would actually also look for first is current military tactics.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
in the region
of Jovance or of Amalta?
Yeah, of Jovance.
Yeah, of Jovance. Okay, so to track things like that. Okay, so again, this family is known for arcane might, so on and so forth. They're not necessarily known for being the super warrior, but there are still some things that would be kind of it might be a few years, maybe a decade dated, but that's certainly newer than say studying the ancient tactics of Jovance, right? So you actually would be able to find kind of detailings of this. It's books like that too. It's fun because it's oh, this binding has never been broken. As a matter of fact, this book maybe has never been opened.
Yeah, you get the cracking.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's you've never... It's probably shipped here because it's important to have, but nobody ever cared to read it. So you're the first to have eyes on it, which is nice. And so you are reading, of course, about the military tactics about them. But the question here is, I understand Laszlo's a quick reader, but how quick of a reader is he? How much does he want to?
He would, I mean, with the arc, he has the lore talent. it just describes as like he's an inquisitive mind and absorbs facts extremely easy. And that's
Okay, so it's one of those things where as you skim through the books, you just kind of like skim through like, yeah, junk. Ooh, okay, this is kind of what I
like
was
speed
looking
read.
for.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not like sitting there doing intensive study, just trying to pick up as much facts so that I can aid them. Because I mean, there's two people here that do great things. There's me that support.
As you guys are doing this, Oscar is gonna get bored from not reading anything, and he's happy to read things. It's just more like this was not something he was necessarily too keen on, and seeing Chrisellen just like enjoying the hell out of a book right now.
Yeah, she's like, of course.
Yeah. He's like, fine, and he's gonna go and try and find books on just general. The equivalencies of like abjuration style magics, like looking at protective magics.
Now you are speaking my language.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, magic. Whoa. I think there's a lot of magic books here. I think of protective magics because abjuration is not necessarily a thing. You're thinking, of course,
protective
Arcane Congress terms. But so like protective, defensive magics, things like that. Literally, protection, I think, is the name of one of the schools or whatever you guys have in this system. So you think of that, and it actually narrows down to, okay, there's a few books over there. There's probably like 2 over here. And you kind of get that impression. And so you go over and you grab these books and you're able to read through them again, turning through them, blah, 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 blah. Some point in time, you're interrupted by a servant coming in and offering some, basic beverages. Would you like to have an alcoholic or like a tea or something like that? They, you guys, oh yeah, thanks. The snacks. This family has money, so it's not like you're like, oh no, we're just like taking their, they don't care. So you guys are able to do a bit of reading here. What I want you to do, because it's not a very hard DC in a library like this, roll for me, I suppose, research check. If you don't have that, then in just intelligence. Josh, you have even like a different DC from them because of your lore ability. Mm-hmm. So everybody roll for me an intelligence check.
I do have arcane lore.
You can roll arcane lore because you're specifically looking at arcane lore.
And there are 2 types of magic that I'm looking for as well. Just as a note for this, I'm looking for protection and power. Those are the 2 that I'm looking at.
Okay, and I'm sorry, not Doxy. All of you guys, based off your results, I'll tell you what happens. But no, go ahead. Finish rolling at this point.
No, Jesus.
No, you're fine.
Sorry. It's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Well, I mean, disappointment's an understatement. So you think about what you want to do with your stunt points. This is exploratory. Otherwise, you can just take it as good success, Doxy.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, Doxy. Loaded dice.
Could have made it a dexterity riding check on that one, I think.
Go ahead, sir.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay. So a couple of things. You, with your protection spells, are actually able to find literally the explanation of a spell, an incantation. You actually think that if you had enough time studying this, you might be able to learn another spell. It's written so well inside here. It's one of those like, oh, you have to make that decision. How long do we want to spend here in Brintel before going to the border? Because enough time, enough research, enough success, you might be able to add to your repertoire, which is important as a, as for you, Chris Allen, you learn a nasty little trick inside there. As a matter of fact, it's one of those things where as you're reading this, you blush like, oh my.
My word.
And it's one of those, at some point in time in the future, should you choose to implore this, you will give yourself an automatic +3 to a particular, we'll just say, dexterity check. And you just keep a note of that somewhere if you would like, because
it's a one-time use?
One-time use +3 on a particular dexterity check in the future.
Okay.
That you can do, but absolutely, and of course, be mindful on who it is you choose to implore these abilities on, right? Mm-hmm. As for you,
Laszlo,
Josh,
you are getting a treat.
oh,
you know how ruined a gnome's life would be, how long it is, and you throw that in there early in their life, and that's it. They can't top
gone.
it.
It's never
like,
again. Yeah.
It's like that one time you did heroin. You're like, I'll never get this again. I
Wouldn't know.
That's it.
Wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I would never do heroin. When it's described as you will never experience any joy like this again for the rest of your life, I go, that sounds very addictive.
That's how I want to die. Like, I'll do that when I'm needy and miserable and don't want to wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Anyways, this was dark.
Yeah. Right.
I was perfectly happy.
And those stunt points, how you gonna stunt?
I am gonna use resources at hand. I get to pick a focus I don't have, which is research.
Oh, hello.
Smart.
Okay.
Smart
So,
boy.
Until the venue changes.
Yeah, I guess as long as you guys stay here continuing to research. Cool. So what you end up doing is you do find, as I described beforehand, specifically we're talking about Yovant's military tactics. You're able to find them, and you're able to find a lot of detail about them with your 11 because you have a focus on research, right? Not the one you just got, the one from before. So one of the things that you notice is that they are very much a lead from the back crew. Their military is very much done by slaves. You see, in Paradel, I don't remember if I said this live in the show or not before, but in Paradel they do have what's called slavery, but it's actually more of an indentured servitude. You become a servant for 9 years or a forced soldier for 3 years, but at the tail end of that, you become a citizen. You get a lot of rights, so on and so forth. You become all of your children are citizens, so on and so forth. You actually join the Paradel society. It actually makes Paradel better. And a lot of people actually kind of gain a bit of like pride serving Paradel by doing this. And there's even a lot of like comfort with being a slave in Paradel, an indentured servant, because like you can still find somebody else, fall in love, marry. Generally speaking, they aren't like beaten or anything unless there's a particularly terrible person that's looking over them. They're fed well, they're clothed well, like they're treated like people, but slaves, right? But they're treated well, all things considered. In Yovant's, that's not the case. Slaves are exactly what you think of when you hear that word.
Yeah.
And it's not good. I mean, we're talking beaten from behind, fear tactics galore, literally like sicking hounds on soldiers that are trying to flee a battlefields to make sure they continue charging forward rather than getting ripped apart and eaten by your master's hounds from behind. All the worst tactics. And so like when you're looking at that, you're like, you can see why it is that there would be a call for a regime change happening there. As for the soldiers that are fully trained and whatnot to be warriors, these are all still cold. Free people, sure, trained, sure, but are still all cold from the lower and like lower middle, if there is really a middle class that's there. Almost nobody is of the higher classes. Almost everybody of the higher class can have an army. All they have to do is pay for it. And they have as much of an army as they want. And so many times people just like buy tons of soldiers, right? Buy tons of soldiers and throw them out of battle. And they just keep doing it until they have success. And it makes them look good. And it actually causes them to raise rank. And it doesn't matter how good or bad their tactics are. The fact that they had success just because they have the money to throw at it, it actually gives them more power, more influence. And then even the state is giving them more soldiers. It's kind of
thinly veiled social discourse.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bass-ackwards society that only works because there's a lot of people there. There are a lot of people there, and they don't mind using them. So that is literally their tactic.
That's disgusting. Laszlo, the whole time reading it, would just be like, I don't like this. And the whole time just reading through the thing. Oscar,
he's like reading a book like very intently right now. Like he at first doesn't even notice you talking to him. He's almost like he's tracing his pinky along the page right now. Like not in a pattern that's this. It's more like a this type of motion right now.
Okay.
Sorry. Did you say something?
Yes. How much do you know about the Yovant's military tactics?
How much do I know about the Yovant's military tactics? Let me tell you in one moment. A
Oh
lot.
my god!
A
Jesus.
lot.
Oh man!
Pretty good.
Pretty good. With resources at hand, I'm also gonna give myself the researcher focus for the until we change venue.
And for the record, you that's a hard check that you just beat there, which is beautiful. One last detail before you go on, because research is only worth 4, right?
Yeah.
So you technically have one more that you get advantageous position. No, nothing really there.
Nothing really
Yeah.
fits with that at this point. So
It says Bon Mo, or however you pronounce it.
bon mot.
Bon mot.
Bon mot.
I can't do French. Sorry.
It's like Bomo, except for a really, really soft N.
Oh, you
Bon
mean
mot.
the fact that they're a bunch of cowards? That's my bon mot, by the way, in case you were wondering. Just take a little bow here.
Well, sort of. Yes. They just literally throw people to solve at the problem until the problem's solved. It's
Yes,
disgusting, and it won't
or the
work
problem
against
solves
mages.
them, as it
Yeah.
often does. Yeah.
That won't work against mages.
No, it won't.
I mean, soldiers, yes.
Why do you
it's
think
numbers.
they sent me?
Okay, that's a good point. How do you think we're supposed to work with these people? It's disgusting.
I don't really intend on working with them.
Gentlemen, we're not supposed to work with them. We're supposed to sway them.
Or as I like to say, work around them.
Aye.
Okay. So, I have an idea. So Scott, I want to look for a book on the Yovance histories, but mainly focused on like the alternate rules that they had in place before this slavery got kind of out of hand. Like maybe we could use this to try to sway certain opinions on how things can be done without it being done the way it's done. Kind of thing.
So you're talking about
Does that make sense?
You're talking about like their far history, not like
Yeah, like stuff that was successful, but that slavery just kind of made it easier, so they just did it that way.
you can roll a check for that if you would like to do. That's going to be a
Go back to
research
my
check since
reading.
now you have that focus. Did you temporarily add it for yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Cool.
I did. 14.
So 14 is not bad. So with your 14 check and because again you're kind of grabbing more books, it's more just quickly looking at titles and what's here. You can see you do have a library of information that talks about like older Yovants, but honestly it's not as full as you might hope it would be. It's not as prolific of a collection, right? So you are going to be able to get some information. If you're going to spend the time pouring into it, just even looking at the few titles that you have, you're like, this might not have everything. Welcome to invest the time and see what I tell you. But
Yeah. Looking at the books that I have, I'll look to Oscar and go, okay. So while we were talking, I had the idea of maybe we could, Oscar?
I'm listening.
Okay. It's okay.
Sorry,
Um,
Sorry, I'm splitting my focuses right now. That's not fair. What's up?
No, I was
What
just
do you
trying to
need?
think. I was trying to think of a way that we could maybe sway their opinion on how they do certain things so that we could be more successful. And I was looking at their history, maybe using historical fact that is from them that we could use to aid us in swaying their opinion.
Do you need time?
I think I need help. I don't think any of these books are gonna do it. And I don't know what to look under.
All
Let me take a
right. All right. And Chrisellen begrudgingly puts her smut book away.
Are we all going to go try and find what we need?
I've been known to brain a time or two.
I could steal it.
We will absolutely not.
Oscar's going to actually turn the book that he's reading around to you, Laszlo. And it has on the page is a magical spell that he is very clearly trying to memorize right now. And he's just saying, because I need time.
Okay. No, that's awesome. I'm trying to learn something new. That's amazing. Chris Ellen's probably better at this. Anyway, she's good at fooling the minds of men and others.
What precisely do you need help
And
with?
many
Because I can
women.
put this down for now.
I was just trying to think of how, because our job is to help them with the mages.
Yes.
I was trying to think of how we could do that without throwing slaves at the mages just to die.
If we tell them to withdraw their entire troop, every single bit of their army, they'll be overrun in days. So we can't just simply remove their army, as nice as it would be to save many lives. Otherwise, there's no point. We're walking into no man's land.
I say we offer them an ultimatum, really. We tell them they free the slaves and offer them land and titles in return for their service in the military.
Can't give that many slaves land and titles.
Or-
This is just speaking about feasibility.
Or we'll stir a revolt.
I will note that we should aim for giving them wages and life and removing them from indentured servitude, as they would call it. We should aim for paying jobs.
You see, this is why I like the idea of the ultimatum, Oscar.
Yes, I know. But my issue with that is that they will choose the stirring of a revolt because they believe that they will be able to buy their way out of it, just like they try and buy their way out of every single problem that they will ever face, as Laszlo is just learning through his reading.
I think you're both onto something, actually. Okay, hear me out. This is kind of crazy. We aid them in doing a revolt. We give them good tactics. Oscar, you're great at obviously leading military forces, but at the same time,
Oscar looks very concerned when you say that because he's.
I mean, you're a Venator.
I should
and
be
then
putting points into communication as we go here.
I can also assist you in the training.
I don't lead with my words. I lead by example. That's all I can prove.
I tend not to lead with my words either, but
Well,
I can weave a sentence.
noticed.
But if we create enough of a problem, then we do what Chris Ellen is saying. We find a way to mediate a negotiation, a way to get them their freedom because their problem is costing them more than...
You want us to facilitate.
This is why I say we offer them the ultimatum, because we show them that we know what will happen. They will be more likely to listen to us, and we still get what we want with the illusion of choice.
My job here is not to determine how we do this. My job here is to determine that we do. If you believe this is best, and you believe this is the best course of action, I will do everything in my power to make sure we succeed. But there is fallout to everything we decide to do.
There's no
Yes.
getting out of this without blood on our hands one way or the other.
I'm not afraid of a little blood. That's not the problem. I'm more afraid about failing.
Let's keep brainstorming. Because when we get there, things might be very different than what we know.
I believe in both of you. I believe in your ability to come up with something that will work. Just keep thinking. Figure out exactly how we go about this. Don't think about the broad plan. Think about the details. Think about how it will play out. Think about how we move. Think about strategy.
We have plenty of time to discuss that on the road. Laszlo, how may I assist you in finding information right now?
I don't know.
Well, what would
I
you like
don't
to
know what to do. I don't know how to change the opinions of people. I don't know. These people literally just throw money at their problem.
Oscar puts his book down for a moment, and he just kind of thinks, and he's just like, now where in this library would they talk about great diplomatic speeches that have happened in Yvonce?
Great speeches of Yvonce.
Legendary speeches of Amulta, Yvonce, and Iscaria, if there's a book of such kind.
You believe speeches of Yvonce happens to be right in front of you on the table, one of those 3 tomes that were already pulled down, talking about ancient Yvonce, or not ancient but old, right?
Oscar
old
picks up that book and just tosses it to Laszlo.
Okay.
Read that. Maybe have Chryselen read it. And then
Perhaps I ought to. And she just grabs the corner of it gently and waits for your grip to give.
He's a gnome. What kind of grip does he have?
Well, I'm still not going to just yank it from him.
Oh, candy from child. I get it, yeah.
She just holds it up over her head.
And she'll retire to the luxurious chair with the book on speeches.
Okay. So it's one of those things where it's like you put the other book to the side. It was.
I had
savory.
already put it back.
Yeah.
I was sad about it.
Yeah. Run your finger down the spine.
The world is less because you put it back.
Yeah.
She kisses her fingers and touches the fingers to the spine as she passes by it on the way back to the
Everyone who
chase.
touches it will have coronavirus.
Selling virus, thank you.
Oh man. All right, so and then you go over and you sit down and start reading, of course, the book of speeches. Going back to you boys. Oh, what are you studying now, Josh? Because I think you, unless I'm mistaken, Will, are going to go back to continuing to read.
I am trying to memorize this pattern, this spell, which I believe I'm hoping I have figured out what it is by now. But we'll see.
Actually, I want you to roll me a check to see if you can.
Lore?
Yeah, it's actually an Arcana lore because this next one does something for me. And Josh, I need after this you to tell me what it is that you're looking for again. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, that was a beautiful roll. Stunt dice of 6. So you actually are able to realize that this isn't one spell from the Protection Arcana. This isn't one spell. It's actually 2 different spells. And now that you understand it better, you need to decide which one you wanted to memorize. If you have the compendium book or companion book, whatever it's open, page 50-51, Arcane Shield and Spell Ward are the 2 spells that you're going to be looking at. For chat, Arcane Shield more or less temporarily increases your defense based off of like certain factors of your character. Generally speaking, that actually is not a good one for Oscar to have, but it still can increase his AC by a bit. However, if he's not wearing armor, kind of like D&D mage armor, if he's not wearing his armor, it's a really good one to have on him. Spell Ward, on the other hand, you're juicing over it. Go right ahead.
Spell Ward is essentially it's a way to increase magical protection on a single target within 4 yards by +2 on all tests to resist spells until the end of the encounter, which is real good. And by expending more mana points, which I have more of now because I increased my willpower on our last level, you can make it go to additional targets.
Are we reading the same spell?
I think so. Spell Ward?
Yeah. Hold on. Spell Ward. What book you in?
I believe I'm in the correct one. I may not be. Send me, just in case.
Sorry. Fantasy Age Companion book. Page 51, Spell Ward.
Am I on the wrong one? I must be on the wrong one.
Top left.
Yeah.
It's pretty much works as Sanctuary. Right, if someone tries to target you with a spell,
there's actually 2 different spell wards.
Yeah, am I reading the wrong thing?
No, you're reading a thing that is
what page were you on? Because spell word here is
I was on a completely different
I want to
page.
know what that is, so I'm going to read that one in a second just to say this one out loud. Your power, protection, other from magical effects of a certain arcana. Touch the subject and choose an arcana, such as cold, fire, power, etc. For the rest of the encounter, if the subject is targeted by hostile spells from that arcana is like a school of magic, the spellcaster must win a test spellcasting ability versus your spell power. Otherwise, the spell fails. So more or less, it gives you like spell resistance against one school of magic. Where were you?
I think I was in the wrong book, is what it comes down to there, because there is a spell ward under Power Arcana on page 74 of the other book.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just immediately typed in spell ward and I was on the wrong book. That's what it was.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Well, they're both the same. They're both novice level. Both power arcana. No, one's power, one's protection.
One's power, one's protection.
That's right. So this is going to be a protection one. So
Protection one.
mine's going to be the one that takes it. Sorry.
No, that's not a problem at all. Both are great.
I was looking at power before. So I actually had it open already because of arcane awareness. I liked.
Yeah, power is actually what I already have experience in because that's what false aura comes from.
Yep. So we're going with protection.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I was there. So that's good.
Cool. Making sure we're there. Awesome.
Yep.
So I assume that's the one you're choosing between the two that I had said.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Spell ward.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you were able. That second check was able to dictate whether or not you get there. Sorry, whether you can kind of like define them and makes it a little bit faster. Josh, what were you doing this whole time? Because you're not done yet.
I want to look up books on successful revolts.
Okay. So just as a reminder, when you guys spoke to just because again the campaign opening, when you guys spoke to the more or less general, the savant, he had said to you, your job is to handle the mage situation and then use that as of course, go about it your own way, right? But handle the mage situation and suggested using that as kind of like a pivot into speaking to change their ways, kind of like handling the higher ups, because currently they're dealing with their own revolt. You're looking at, I believe the conversation you guys were having beforehand was almost aiding the revolt, which is not a bad thing. So you're looking to how revolts have been successful throughout the history of Eroth, as opposed to just Yovance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's my logic: is if I find out how to do a successful revolt and we help them, then we have bargaining power when we want them to change their tactics.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. No, I get exactly what you're saying. No, I got you. So funny enough, roll me that research check. Because books are of course going up here, right? But beautiful.
14.
And again with your 6 for your stunt, you know what I mean? So that means you're actually very quickly able to go over and find some books. And actually, funny enough, the books that you find are old books. They're not a Maltese print. They're Galdarian print. They're old books. And, they probably were brought here from when Amalta originally seceded, means to leave, right? Seceded from Galdaria. Anyways, these books are actually in reference to the origin of Paradel and the revolt that actually started that. It's believed, though not factually known, that the what are they called? The Mole Empire that existed 700 years ago actually kept slaves, and the slaves themselves revolted, and that was the beginning of the tidal wave. It was the ripple in the pond that became the tidal wave known as Paradel. It is believed that is the case. That is the most successful revolt that you have that is ever recorded. As for other revolts, they're in reference again because these books are old, right? As for other revolts, they're in reference to nations that no longer exist, ones that kind of are overthrown. But when I say no longer exist, not just because of their own little revolts, but mostly because Paradel eventually took over that region of land, anyways. So just don't exist. Because when you're looking at these old maps that are like, again, tracings, not like perfect maps, because this is an outside perspective of what was happening, not the actual, internal documentations. You just like, oh no, that's what Paradel is now. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to read up and try to get as much as I can to maybe, so we can use that information later.
Correct. Okay, cool. You got that. Awesome. So you guys spend time doing this, Doxy, researching speeches. Even back when they weren't a slave empire, you actually, in these old readings that you have, Doxy, not just the one book, but the 3 books that you inevitably have to read to fully understand the context of these speeches that you're reading. Yovance wasn't always a slave empire. What happened was just, it was kind of an oligarchy that got bigger and stronger and more powerful and bigger and stronger, and then eventually
Then leave a social commentary.
That was a joke I made earlier.
I know. Repeating is
This is where America is headed.
that just continued to get worse and worse and worse until the point where they
Sorry, coronavirus.
Yeah, weird.
moving on. So to the point where eventually it just kind of collapsed into the state that it is now. I mean, you don't have a full record, so you don't understand exactly step by step how this happened. It's only 3 books that talk about how it was before. So you can kind of like, okay, you're inferring this based off of your character's very solid political understanding of different governmental forms and whatnot. So the speeches that you have are literally still the very wealthy few speaking down to and over the others. So their successful speeches were successful in the fact that they got done what they wanted to, but weren't necessarily moving.
Right.
Vance doesn't really have a history of charismatic in the traditional sense, I suppose.
Oh, cool. I'm fucked.
Yeah. Well, amongst them, it's fine, but from them to their people, not so much. They're all fat cows.
I feel like Chrysan would pick up on that fast enough to not waste that much time with those books.
I mean,
she's
yeah.
a plus
you can
you
can skim through all that shit, absolutely, and realize like, okay, these people aren't. Yeah, you're fine. Sure.
Then I would want to find a book on how to successfully fight mages.
You're thinking of a book, and instead you see a man.
Okay. Is it my father?
No. It's your
Is it
companion.
Oscar? Okay.
I mean, honestly.
Well, I would want words about how like.
That's interesting. So the magic points you to the best source of information on the subject in the room, huh?
Exactly.
Fuck. That's actually really good.
That's really
okay.
neat.
I really like that.
But I would still want, I mean, he's still a man. He's still in fact, like.
So it's important that even if you realize this, you're like, huh, that's a cute spell that they have going on here that did that. That's not what I want, though. I want like kind of like how you become that as opposed to being that itself, right? And even looking at books again, the books that you're going to kind of come across pretty quickly are the history of how the Venator were created and so on, and the swords, the shields, and the spears, and how these positions were created. And so it's more of like historical formation of these. But even that history, again, you're very quickly discerning this isn't super helpful because it's more about why it is that they had to fight the Arcane Congress. So it's kind of like a history of that sort of stuff. But again, it's a very skewed perspective, as you might imagine. Your character happens to be more worldly. Like if Oscar read this, he'd be like, yeah, this makes sense perfectly. If Laszlo read this, he might get a little flush. That's really what they think. Okay, I guess that makes sense. If you read this, you're like, yeah, I see things from that 3 steps back, you know.
Okay. Well, she will put it back and she'll grab that smut book that she had before and a book on etiquette and slide the etiquette one to Laszlo and the smut one to Oscar and be like, I'll be in the carriage. And she's just laughing.
Oscar, you gotta roll willpower not to be distracted by that.
I am proficient. I have a focus in self-discipline. So if you want me to, me to roll it, I will.
Well, you know what? While that is actually pretty funny, I want to see you roll that just because it's funny, and then we're going to take a break because when we come back, we're going to have you make a different roll. Oh my god!
17 with a +4. It is
nice, bud.
That is 17 with a 4. So I think that is a. Can I do a? That's a role playing more.
No, listen, I got you on this one. She hands you the book and she slides it in front of you. You look down at it for a brief moment, and then while going back to reading, you say, "I prefer missionary." And with that, we go to break. See you guys momentarily. Bye.